Alright, welcome back everyone for another video. So, for those of you guys who don't know me, I am Chris and this is Christian Mommy Vlog. I post usually on Mondays and Tuesdays, but because I've been noticing how I don't really get to upload Mondays and Tuesdays because there's someone else usually here, my old man mainly, I've been actually kind of pushing my videos further and further down the week. So I have made the decision to upload or record and upload on Wednesdays, Thursdays. Okay, at least the Bible studies. Fridays are still my random videos, like not Christian videos, parent videos, and I also do some topic videos. Like last week I posted a video on topics I want to try and get done before the end of 2023, which I will have a link to that in the description below, and I will have it somewhere here on the screen that you guys can go take a look at, because tomorrow I am posting another topic video, and it is a surprise for you and for me because I haven't chosen which one I'm going to do. I just know I want to do a topic video tomorrow, just like I said, I haven't got the chance to look into which one yet. So we'll both be surprised, but you really should check that one out too because it's going to be awesome. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to be doing Wednesdays are Wednesdays are Genesis, Thursday will be John. Okay, next week, I will tell you this right now, next week I'm going to be trying to do two chapters of John to get it caught up to Genesis. Right now I'm on Genesis 19. I just finished that one. So I'm doing 18 today. So next week would be Genesis 20. And I need to do John 19 and 20 next week. So I'm really bad when it comes to trying to figure out those kind of things. But yes, I would try and do 2 chapters of John to next week to get caught up for up to with Genesis. So if you have not seen my previous videos, specifically my Bible study videos, then I cannot talk, I'm losing my train of thought. So at the end of every single book chapter I do, I will have a playlist to that specific book I'm working on. So for example, I'm doing John today. So if you've not seen my John videos from chapter 1 up until 17, there will be a playlist somewhere on the screen and in the description below that you can go to that playlist and watch those videos up until this current one. Okay, so like I said, I've covered 1 through 17. I'm doing 18 today, and if you also haven't seen my videos and you don't know the structure of it, I tend to read the chapter all the way through, and then I will go into the actual notes. Now, I tend to take a lot of notes, so take a look. That is John 17 and 18. Okay, so I have little sticky notes. I do some sticky notes here, and if you notice too, I write a lot. So I do take notes tremendously. The other thing I also sometimes do is there are these little things called reflections. This one right here. And they are written by various different authors. And they pertain to some of the chapters. Sometimes, depending on how much time I have with the video, I will go ahead and read them because they might give us a little insight into the actual chapter. Now, today I will read one because this one is pertaining to John 18:33 through 40, and it was written by Kathleen Chappell. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the reading of chapter 18, and then we'll go ahead and go back over the notes. Alright, so this is on the betrayal and arrest of Jesus Christ. Okay, so it says, when Jesus had spoken these words, he went out with his disciples across the brook Kidron, where there was a garden, which he and his disciples entered. Now Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place, for Jesus often met there with his disciples. So Judas, having procured a band of soldiers and some officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, went there with lanterns and torches and weapons. Then Jesus, knowing all that would happen to him, came forward and said to them, "Whom do you seek?" They answered, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus said to them, "I am he." Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with them. When Jesus said to them, "I am he," they drew back and fell to the ground. So he asked them again, "Whom do you seek?" And they said, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus answered, "I told you that I'm he. So if you seek me, let these men go." This was to fulfill the word that he had spoken, "Of those whom you gave me, I have lost not one." Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. Their servant's name was, forgive me if I mess this up, Malchus. So Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword into its sheath. Shall I not drink the cup that the Father has given me?" So the band of soldiers and their captain and the officers of the Jews arrested Jesus and bound him. First they led him to Annas, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was high priest that year. It was Caiaphas who had advised the Jews that it would be expedient for that one man should die for the people. Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did another disciple. Since that disciple was known to the high priest, he entered with Jesus into the courtyard of the high priest. But Peter stood outside at the door. So the other disciple, who was known to the high priest, went out and spoke to the servant girl, who kept at the door, and brought Peter in. The servant girl at the door said to Peter, "You also are not one of this man's disciples, are you?" He said, "I am not." Now the servants and the officers had made a charcoal fire because it was cold, and they were standing and warming themselves. Peter was also with them, standing and warming himself. The high priest then questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teachings. Jesus answered him, "I have spoken openly to the world. I have always taught in the synagogues and the temple where all the Jews come together. I have said nothing in secret. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me what I said to them. They know what I said." When he said these things, one of the officers standing by struck Jesus with his hand, saying, "Is that how you answer the high priest?" Jesus answered him, "If what I said is wrong, bear witness about the wrong. But if what I say is right, why do you strike me?" Annas then sent him bound to Caiaphas, the high priest. Now Simon Peter was standing and warming himself. So they said to him, "You also are not one of his disciples, are you?" He denied it and said, "I am not." One of the servants of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, asked, "Did I not see you in the garden with him?" Peter again denied it, and at once a rooster crowed. Then they led Jesus from the house of Caiaphas to the governor's headquarters. It was early morning. They themselves did not enter the governor's headquarters, that they would not be defiled, but could eat the Passover. So Pilate went outside to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" They answered him, "If this man were not doing evil, we would not have delivered him to you." Pilate said to him, "Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law." The Jews said to him, "It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death." This was to fulfill the word that Jesus had spoken, to show by what kind of death he was going to die. So Pilate entered his headquarters again, and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me?" Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from this world." Then Pilate said to him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" After he said this, he went back outside to the Jews and told them, "I find no guilt in him, but you have a custom that I should release one man for you at the Passover. So do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews?" They cried out again, "Not this man, but Barabbas." Now Barabbas was a robber. Okay, so let me go ahead and read the reflection for you guys real quick. And like I said, it's called Help Us to Listen. And it is over John 18:33 through 40. Where this is basically where it says, from the point where it says so Pilate entered the headquarters again and called Jesus to him, saying, so it's over that section up until the end of it. Alright, so it says, alright, by Kathleen Chapel. "Whatever. Who hasn't heard that response, usually accompanied by a shrug? This was not up to my expectations. Whatever. You may not speak to me that way. Whatever. Whatever. So what? Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's not important." This is essentially Pilate's response to Jesus' words. "For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth." "What is truth?" Pilate asked. "Whatever." How ironic. The man charged with determining truth in this matter dismisses the importance of truth. "What is truth after all?" he asked. "Truth doesn't matter," and so he is willing to turn over to the annoying mob the very one who is the truth. I have sometimes read this account of the hours leading up to the crucifixion and felt a strange sympathy for Pilate. He seems to be trying to find an answer. Back and forth he goes from interviewing Jesus, this problematic, perplexing man, to trying to placate the crowd outside. There doesn't seem to be an easy answer. Jesus doesn't seem to be a threat to Rome, to Caesar, to Pilate himself. He seems innocuous enough. He says he has a kingdom, but not of this world. Why do these angry folks want him dead? Oh, Pilate, if you had only listened, really listened to what Jesus was saying. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice. I am the way, the truth, and the life, and that was from 14:16. I am the good shepherd from 10:11. I am the resurrection and the life, 11:25. Pilate, if you had only listened. I can't find any guilt in him, Pilate tells the mob. Release Barabbas, responds the crowd. They demand that Pilate releases the robber, a criminal, the murderer, and punish the innocent. Release the sinner and crucify the sinless. Release the sinner and sacrifice the sinless. The demand makes no human sense. But even in this short, confusing, frustrating interaction, God reveals his plan of salvation. The sinless will suffer to save the sinners who trust in him. Lord, help me listen to you. Help me hear when you speak truth. Help me remember always that I am the sinner you released. I am the one for whom the sinless Jesus was crucified. He is my Passover lamb, and his blood has washed my heart clean. Alright, so that is that part. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into the kind of notes I've taken from over this chapter. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out is the Brook of Kidron. Okay, so the Brook of Kidron is this stream that was drainage from the temple and would be a reddish color from the blood of the Passover lambs. So this, I wanted to point this out because it is a very vivid reminder to Jesus and his upcoming sacrifice. The very brook would remind him of his approaching sacrifice, for through it flowed the blood and refuse from the temple. So I kind of really wanted to point that out because that is a really significant well, imagery basically. Now they were, so at this point they were in a garden, okay, and the garden is called Gethsemane. Like I said, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it, but I think it's called Gethsemane, okay. And you can find this in Matthew 26 and 36. Also, you can find it in Mark 14:32. So at this point, he is here with his disciples, and he is kind of here quite often, which is why Judas knows of this garden, which is why it says Judas, who is officially betrayed Jesus. He would often meet with his disciples there, so Judas knew about it. So he procured a band of soldiers, some officers from the chief priests, the Pharisees, and he went up with lanterns, torches, and weapons, thinking that Jesus was some kind of dangerous criminal. Now, the first thing they asked them is, first thing Jesus asks is, "Whom do you seek?" And he's trying to get their attention focused on him, not his disciples who are also with him. And they answered, "Jesus of Nazareth." Now, this is a common name that Jesus went by. And when he said, "I am he," okay, so now the first thing I want to point out is this is one of the, it's one of 7 I am statements. Now, originally, it was originally "I am," but they added the he part, just kind of point out, they're saying, hey, it's him he's talking about. The he part, the "I am he," was added in by translators. So, so at this point, Jesus is consciously proclaiming that he was God, connecting his words to the several other "I am" statements throughout John. So you have John 8:58, 6:40, I think it is. If I can just get my little note to stop sticking right here. There we go. So yeah, 6:48. You also have another "I am" statement in 8:12, 9:5, 10:9, 10:11 through 14. You have one in 10:36, 11:25, and then 14:6, and then of course this one right here in 18:6. Okay. So there are plenty of "I am" statements, which I think there's more. 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sorry, 11 statements of I am statements. Okay. So at this point, they draw back, they fall to the ground, and this is a divine display of presence, majesty, and power behind just his 2 words of "I am." Okay, so once again, he asked them, "Whom do you seek?" And like I said, he is trying to call their attention to him off of his disciples who are literally probably standing right around him or behind him. He's trying to protect them as best as he possibly can. Okay, so again, he asked them, "Who do you seek?" And they say, "Jesus of Nazareth." He told them, "I told you I am he, so if you seek me, let these men go." Now obviously, they didn't fall back, they didn't do anything, so the whole "I am" part doesn't have as much power as the very first one. He says, "I am he." Okay, so right now he is saying, hey, if you seek me, let these men go, his disciples. So he is willingly giving himself up to these Romans, these Pharisees, the soldiers, to keep his disciples safe. Okay. And then this is where his orders fulfilled in the statement, saying, "Hey, of those whom you gave me, I have not lost one." And that was literally just in chapter 17. Actually, where is it in chapter 17? I think it was like chapter... Yep, here we go. In chapter 18, or 17, sorry, verse... Where is it? Verse 15, near the end of it, where it says, "Which of you have given me? I have guarded them, and not one of them has been lost, except for the son of destruction." Which we already know the son of destruction is Judas. So Judas is here as well, which is because he's the one who betrayed him and sold him to the Romans and the Pharisees, but he has not lost any of his other disciples. So he's trying to protect his disciples. He's trying to keep these soldiers from laying a hand on them. So then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it out and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. So obviously he's got a sword. We don't know that much. Yes, I think that's all I need to identify on this side. So the guy's name was, like I said, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it, Malchus. Okay, so Jesus tells Peter to put your sword away in your sheath. Shall I not drink the cup that the Father has given me? So at this point, instead of praising his disciple, he's actually kind of scolding him in a sense. Not really scolding him so much, but just basically telling him to stop. So the band of soldiers and their captains. So now we have two different groups from the temple. So we have the soldiers. They are directly from the temple security. Then we have the captain. Okay, so now how is it? The officers of the Jews. They are the temple security, basically. And then you have the captain, which is the Roman commander. So we have two different groups here to arrest Jesus. Like he's some dangerous, deadly, mass murderer criminal guy. Okay, they're treating him like they would a high security felon. Okay, so then they take him to Annas, who is the father-in-law of Capias, and he's also the one who actually put Capias into office. And at that point, he was the high priestess. He was the high, or not high priestess, that's a female. High priest, okay? And it was Capias who advised the Jews that it would be expedient that one man should die for his people. So he had unknowingly, at this point, he had unknowingly prophesied what Jesus would do for his people, for the people. Okay, and you can find this kind of in John 11, 49 through 53. Okay, then we going into the very first denial by Peter. Okay, so Simon Peter had kind of followed Jesus in the hopes of kind of redeeming himself, kind of like a second chance from cutting off that one soldier's ear. And he went in with another disciple, probably John, specifically because the fact is that the next line says that the disciple was known to the high priest. He entered with Jesus into the courtyard of the high priest, which would have been John. But Peter would not go inside. So John, assuming it's John, sent out the servant to go retrieve Peter and bring him inside the house, which is where the first interaction between Peter and the servant girl was. Okay, now John was already known to her as a disciple, which is where she kind of reflected onto Peter. So the servant girl said to Peter, you also are not one of this man's disciples, are you? And this is where he first denied. And he said, I am not. Okay, so this is basically his first test of loyalty, and he has failed. Now, remember, Jesus had said earlier that Peter would deny him 3 times. 3 times. So yes, the first time he failed it. Second time, the third time also failed it, obviously. Now they had made a fire of charcoal, and Peter was standing by the fire and warming himself. Not only in the aspect of the fact that it was cold out, but also in the fact that he was literally cold to the soul because he had just denied being Jesus' disciple. So not only was he physically cold, he was also emotionally cold because he had just did something really bad. Or not really bad, but still bad. Okay. Now at this point, it is really dangerous to be outside or noticed because of what's going on with Jesus. Because he had just been arrested. They were questioning him. They knew what was going to happen, and they knew that he had disciples. So he was their rabbi. A really bad idea for them to be kind of noticed at this point. Okay. Then it goes into the high priest and how he's questioning Jesus and his teachings. But Jesus had already made it very clear what he stands on it. Now the reason why the high priest was questioning him and his teachings is for one little group of reasons. Okay, fear, jealousy, and concern to the religious establishment. Okay, that is the reason why. Jesus is basically making a stand on putting himself on a really high pedestal and saying things that they don't want to hear, that they don't want to believe, they just want to deny. And that is the reason why the high priest is questioning, because of fear, because of jealousy that he's willing to do this, and because he's concerned about the religious establishment. So Jesus basically says, I have spoken openly, which means he did not do this in secret. He had no secret doctrine, no secret agenda, nothing. Everything was out in the open. Okay, I have spoken openly to the world. I have always taught in synagogues and the temples, which he has, completely open. Okay, where all the Jews come together. So he's saying, hey, everyone's come together. Everyone has seen me. I have said nothing in secret. So once again, he's saying that he's not done anything in secret. Okay. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me what I've said. They know what I said. So he's basically now putting it on them, saying, hey, go talk to these other people. Go find out what I've said, because I've not done anything in secret. They've all heard me saying what I've said. So he was basically asserting his legal rights. Okay, basically saying, go talk to these people. Don't automatically go just because of this. Go and be a judge. Go find out your evidence. Go find out what is the truth. Okay. Now, one of the officers that were actually standing by got upset by how he spoke to the high priest, and he actually hit him. Now, this is the start of the abuse that would lead to Jesus being beaten, tortured, and crucified. Okay. And he was saying, is this how you answer the high priest? So again, he's saying that is this a form of disrespect on Jesus' part? And he's basically saying, is this how you're going to talk to someone who's higher than you? So Jesus answered him, if what I said is wrong, bear witness about the wrong. But if what I said is right, why do you strike me? So at this point, he is literally trying to put it back onto him, so to speak. So he's basically like saying, hey, if I did something wrong, then bear witness to what I said wrong. Kind of prove it, basically. But what if I said it's right? Why do you go hitting me for it? Like, what if I said what is right? You have no right to be hitting me. Okay. Rude. Okay. So then Anna sent him bound to Capias. Okay. Now, as I explained before too, Capius is put in office as the current high priest. And he was put in office by Annas, his father-in-law. Okay, and like I said, he is just trying to get the high priest, or the guys, to justify the abuse. Okay, so going on, now we get into Peter denying him a second and third time, right back to back, actually. So now Peter is, as I said a little bit ago, Peter was trying to warm himself both physically and emotionally because he had just denied Jesus the first time. So someone else said to him, say, hey, you also are not one of his disciples, are you? And he denied and said, I am not, a second time. So one of the servants, actually the high priest, a relative of the man that he had actually cut the ear off, so he was obviously in the Garden of Gethsemane with them, because he said, did I not see you in the garden with him, with Jesus? And Peter again denied him, saying, hey, I am not one of his disciples, I was not there, etc., etc. And then right afterwards, a rooster crowed. Now, in John 13:36, Jesus had said that Peter would deny him 3 times before the rooster crowed. The rooster crowed. He's denied him 3 times. Okay. Now, in Matthew 26:74, it actually states that Peter was actually denying him with cursing and inappropriate language. Okay. So like I said, second and third time he actually denied him with cussing. Really putting emphasis on the fact that he did not know him, that he was not with Jesus, that he was not his disciple, etc. Okay. So then they led Jesus from the house of Capius to the governor's house, and it was early morning. They themselves did not enter the governor's house because they did not want to be defiled, but eat at the Passover. Okay, so at this point, this is a real big exposure to hypocrisy of the Jewish. Okay, so where Pilate held the court and conducted public businesses, which was the governor's headquarters. Okay, so that's kind of what that point is, and that's what the Praetorium is. Okay, I cannot say that word actually. I think I said it correctly. So Pilate went outside to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" So he's literally questioning to the matter at hand. He's trying to demand what they're accusing Jesus of. So they answered, "If this man were not doing evil, we would not have delivered him over to you." So they are evading the question, and they told him to resolve the matters in their against their own law, for themselves, which is where he says, take him yourselves and judge him by your own law. So they didn't want to judge him based on our laws because they wanted him dead, which is what it says, it is not lawful for us to put anyone to death, which is exactly what they wanted. Because 1, their laws didn't allow it. 2, it determines.
No, Dada.
Thank you.
Sophia.
All right, go sit down, please.
Okay, Mom. Okay, Mom.
You're so cute. So, like I said, it says, this was to fulfill the word that Jesus had spoken to show by what kind of death he was going to die, which was a Roman death. Okay. So Pilate entered the headquarters again and called Jesus to him and said, "Hey, are you the king of the Jews?" So this question is basically right now is revealing the doubt that he is having. He is really trying to figure out if what they're saying is true. He's getting to the heart of the matter now. So Jesus answered, "Do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me?" So not only is there doubt in Pilate's voice, Jesus is questioning whether or not he's asking genuinely, or if he's asking in kind of like a mockery way. So Jesus then Pilate answers that, "Am I Jew? Your own nation and chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" So he's saying, "Hey, I am not a Jew. Your own people have handed you over to me to determine what's going on. What have you done?" He's literally trying to figure out what Jesus has done to deserve the treatment and abuse and the hatred that these own people are doing. So he genuinely wants to know. So Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from this world." So he is literally saying, if he was of this world, his servants would be fighting to keep him, to prevent this exact thing from happening. They'd be fighting to keep him from being delivered over to the cross and dying. But obviously that is not the case. His world, his home, heaven, is not of this world. Okay, so his world is not a political kingdom. It is not of this world. He is literally trying to say that his world is heaven. Okay, so Pilate said, "So you are a king." So Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is the truth listens to my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" Alright, so at this point, a rival king might actually challenge the rule of Rome, and that was what interested Pilate. Okay, the Roman Empire, the Roman kingdom, really has a strong hold at this current point, and having a rival king, especially a king like Jesus, would really kind of shaken things up. So Jesus does not deny that he is a king, but he's basically saying that he was born a king. He was born for this purpose. He was born for this very moment, and he has come into the world to bear witness to the truth being him in Jesus Christ. And everyone who listens to the truth to him will hear his voice. And that is what Pilate is asking, what is the truth? So then he goes back out and says, I find no guilt in him. So literally he's saying that Jesus is innocent. There is no wrongdoing in this guy. But he knows that they have a custom that he should release one of the men to them at Passover. So do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews? So he's saying King of the Jews, trying in hopes that they might actually choose him. Okay, so he had really hoped that these people, the people who are trying to get him killed, who are trying to get him crucified, would want a man named as their king to be spared from death. But as we already know from the very get-go, from what Jesus has already said, that's not going to be the case. He is going to die one way or another. He has to. Otherwise, what we currently have right now is pointless. We don't have it. It doesn't exist. So, we already know for a fact he's going to die. Okay? So, I'm sorry. So, like I said, continuing on. So, they're basically saying, not this man. Don't give us a Jesus. Okay? Don't release him. Release to us Barabbas. Now, Barabbas is literally a criminal. Okay, he's okay. For earlier in the reflection here, what it says, he's a robber, he's a criminal, he's a murderer, and they're literally saying, release Barabbas to us. Okay, so once again, they are rejecting Jesus, and they're choosing to have a criminal released. So unfortunately, as like I said, as we know, Jesus is not going to be spared from death, which is sad. But that's kind of the way it's supposed to go, okay? So then we go into Jesus being delivered to be crucified, which is in chapter 19. So that one's going to be a sad chapter. But we'll get to that one in next week's video. So hopefully you guys learned a little bit of something. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, comment below and let me know what you guys think of the study. So like I said, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, share this with everyone you guys know, subscribe, hit the bell button to get notifications, and let me know what you guys think of the videos, and stay tuned for upcoming videos. I am really excited for tomorrow's video, and I'm really excited to continue this John study next week. So without further ado, you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.